Well, hello there, my precious ones. My name is Grandma Betty. I was born in a little town in Alabama, USA, and I'm 82 years old now. Life has taught me many things, some sweet as pie and others so painful I can still feel the sting even after all these years. Before we begin, do me a little favor, would you? Please like and subscribe to Grandma's Tales, where true stories come alive. And let me know in the comments, where are you watching from? Grandma wants to know where her family is all over the world. Now come close. I got a story to tell you. It's a truth story. A heavy one. A story I never thought I'd ever share. But maybe someone out there needs to hear it. Maybe it'll help a little child going through pain feel less alone. Maybe it'll stop somebody from making a mistake. I remember the day I bled. Not from a scrape or a fall, but from something much worse. My grandfather, my own flesh and blood, had locked me in the back room of our old wooden house. It was just days after my mama's funeral. The house still smelled like her perfume. I still had her picture under my pillow. But Granddaddy didn't care. He was drunk that night. He always got drunk after Mama died. He said I reminded him of her. And that night he came into my room. He shut the door behind him. He told me to take off my nightgown. I cried. I begged. I told him, "Please, Granddaddy, don't hurt me." But he didn't listen. He yanked me by the arm and threw me on the bed so hard, I hit my head on the wall. Then he did the unthinkable. It hurt. I screamed. I bled. I bled so much I thought I would die. When he finally got up and stumbled out, I just lay there. Shaking, bleeding, broken. And that's when I made a life-changing choice. I decided I'd run away. Even if I died trying. But before I tell you how I escaped, you need to understand how I got there in the first place. You see, I wasn't always sad and scared. Once upon a time, I was just a happy little girl named Betty, with big brown eyes and curly hair, who loved baking cookies with Mama and chasing fireflies with my little dog, Biscuit. Mama was the kindest soul you'd ever meet. She sang hymns in the kitchen while stirring her famous apple pie. She'd always kiss my forehead and say, "Betty, no matter what happens in this world, you are loved." And I believed her. But Mama was sick. She had something called the fever. That's what they called it back then. Her skin burned hot like the stove, and her lips were dry and cracked. I would bring her water, fan her with my church hat and whisper, "Don't leave me, Mama." One cold morning I went to wake her up. But she didn't move. Her eyes were open but they weren't seeing me. She was gone. They buried her in a white dress with lace at the neck, her favorite. The whole town came. They brought pies and prayers. But none of that could fill the hole in my heart. That same day my grandfather, who lived in the woods nearby, came to take me in. He said, "You're my blood now, Betty. I'll take care of you." I believed him. At first it was quiet in his house. Too quiet. No singing, no cookies, no lauguer. Just the sound of the wind and the creaking floorboards. Granddaddy sat in his chair every evening with a bottle in one hand and a cigarette in the other. He'd stare at the wall like he was waiting for something. Or someone. Sometimes he cried. Other times he screamed at nothing. And then one night he came to my room. Just stood there and watched me sleep. I pretended I didn't see him. I squeezed my eyes shut so tight they hurt. The next morning he acted like nothing happened. Gave me oatmeal and said, "Don't go into the woods. There's snakes out there." But I wasn't scared of snakes. I was scared of him. As days went by, he got meaner. Threw his food on the floor when it was cold. Slapped me once for dropping a plate. Locked me in the shed because I didn't answer him quick enough. Still I stayed. Because I had nowhere else to go. No one to run to. And then, that awful night happened. The night that started this story. The night I bled. The night he stole my childhood. And after he left me lying there in pain, I crawled to the corner of the room and pressed my face against the wall. I didn't cry anymore. I couldn't. I had cried all my tears out. Instead, I made a plan. But I didn't know my plan would lead me somewhere even darker first. Because the next day, he found out I had written a letter. A letter asking for help. And what he did next was worse than the night before. Now listen close, my little ones. 'Cause Grandma Betty's gonna take you back to that next morning. I didn't sleep a wink after what Granddaddy did to me that night. My little heart was beating so loud, I thought the whole house could hear it. I sat in the corner with my knees to my chest and Mama's picture in my hand, whispering over and over asterisk, "Please protect me, Mama. Please." Asterisk. The sun peeked through the dusty window just a little, like it was scared to shine on such a sad place. I waited till I heard Granddaddy snoring on the couch. That was my chance. I reached under my mattress and pulled out the letter I wrote on a scrap of brown paper bag. I didn't have much, but I had found a pencil stub in one of the drawers weeks ago. I had written, "Dear someone, please help me. My granddaddy is hurting me. I have no one left. My mama died. I'm scared." From Betty, greater than 9 years old. I had planned to leave it on Miss Clara's porch. She was the only neighbor we had for miles, a widow who always waved at me when we went to town. I didn't know if she'd believe me, but I hoped she'd at least read the letter. With the letter folded tight in my palm, I tiptoed to the front door. The floor creaked like it was tattling on me, but I kept going. I was almost at the porch when I heard it. "Where you think you goin', girl?" I froze. He was standing right behind me, hair wild, eyes bloodshot, smelling like whiskey and smoke. My hand dropped the letter. He saw it. He picked it up and read it. His face turned red. So red I thought his skin would rip open. He crumpled the paper, grabbed me by my hair and dragged me back inside. My feet couldn't keep up. I fell. He didn't stop. He yanked and cursed and threw me into the back room again. "You trying to tell lies about me? You think folks'll believe a little brat like you?" He hollered. I tried to speak, but my mouth couldn't move right. Then he locked the door. Left me in there with no light, no food, no water. I stayed in that room all day and all night. My tummy hurt so bad from hunger, but the pain in my heart was worse. I missed Mama. I missed her arms, her singing, her prayers. And I started to feel something I never thought I would. I started to feel angry. Not scared. Not sad. But angry. I said to myself, I ain't letting him win. Not again. I'll find a way. I'll survive. The next morning, when he finally opened the door, I looked at him different. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I just stared. He didn't like that. "Wipe that look off your face," he growled, and raised his hand like he was gonna hit me. But this time he didn't. He just backed away. Maybe he saw something in my eyes. That day, he made me scrub the floor till my fingers bled. Said it was punishment. But I didn't care. I had already made up my mind. I was gonna get out. And then a strange thing happened. Later that week, a visitor came. Miss Clara. She knocked on the front door while I was outside hanging clothes on the line. I heard her say, "I haven't seen little Betty in town lately. Just wondering if she's all right." I stood there, heart pounding, my hands still clinging to Mama's old bedsheet. Granddaddy stepped outside, smiled his fake smile, and said, "She's fine. Just a bit under the weather." Miss Clara looked past him and saw me. I wanted to scream, to run into her arms and tell her everything. But I just stood there, frozen, like a statue. She waved at me. I waved back. That was all I could do. When she left, Granddaddy stared at me like I had done something wrong, like I had told her the whole truth just by standing there. That night, he came back drunk. But he didn't come to my room. No. That night he talked to himself. Loud. Angry. Pacing up and down the hallway. They watching me. They think they know something. I'll show him. And then I heard a sound that made my stomach twist. The sound of him loading his shotgun. I crawled under my bed and clutched Mama's picture tight. I thought, this is it. He's gonna hurt Miss Clara. Or hurt me. I needed to act. So I waited till he passed out on the porch, the shotgun laying next to him, and I ran. Barefoot. In the dark. Through the woods. The branches cut my arms, the mud soaked my feet, but I didn't stop. I ran all the way to Miss Clara's house. I banged on her door like my life depended on it, because it did. She opened the door in her nightgown, eyes wide in shock. "Betty? What in the heavens?" I collapsed in her arms. I couldn't speak at first. My lips were dry. My throat hurt from crying. But I managed to whisper, "Please don't send me back." She brought me inside, gave me warm milk and wrapped me in a blanket. Her house smelled like cinnamon and fresh laundry. So different from Granddaddy's place. So safe. I told her everything. And she listened. Didn't interrupt. Didn't doubt me. She cried. And held me. And said, "You're safe now, baby. You're safe." But safety didn't last long. Because the next morning, there was a loud bang on Miss Clara's door. A voice boomed. "I know she's in there. She's mine and I'm taking her back." It was Granddaddy. He had come with the shotgun. That knock on the door wasn't just loud. It shook the walls. Miss Clara and I froze like statues. The warm blanket slipped from my shoulders, and the glass of milk in my hand trembled so hard I almost spilled it. "I know she's in there," Granddaddy shouted from outside. His voice filled with anger and madness. "She's mine and I'm taking her back." Miss Clara peeked through the curtain and gasped. "Oh Lord, he's got a shotgun." My heart felt like it stopped beating. I whispered, "He's gonna shoot us." Miss Clara's hands were trembling, but she tried to act strong. She grabbed the telephone, her fingers shaking as she dialed. "Sheriff, she said. "This is Clara May. Betty's here with me. Her grandfather's outside with a gun." "Yes now. Please hurry." Just then, boom. The back door slammed open. He had gone around the house. Miss Clara screamed and pulled me behind her. "Get back, you monster!" She yelled, but her voice cracked with fear. Granddaddy staggered into the kitchen, eyes red, breath heavy with alcohol. The shotgun was pointed down, but we all knew how fast that could change. "She's my granddaughter," he growled. "She's lying on me, telling folks I'm doing things I ain't done." I peeked out from behind Miss Clara and shouted, "You did hurt me. Mama saw it from heaven, and she's crying for what you done." That made him stop. Just for a second. His face twisted, confused, maybe even guilty. But then he raised the gun. Miss Clara did the bravest thing I ever saw in my whole life. She stepped in front of me, spreading her arms wide. "You'll have to shoot me first," she said. I'll never forget how strong she looked in that moment, even though she was just an old lady in a housecoat. Granddaddy didn't expect that. He lowered the gun. But he wasn't done. He stormed over, grabbed my arm, and yanked me so hard I fell to the floor. My knees scraped against the wooden tiles and bled. "You're coming home now," he shouted. I screamed. Miss Clara tried to pull me back, but Granddaddy shoved her. Then, freeze. The sheriff and 2 deputies burst through the front door with their guns drawn. It was like time stopped. Granddaddy turned slowly, his eyes wide. "Put the gun down now," the sheriff shouted. And to everyone's surprise, he did. He dropped it on the floor and raised his hands. The sound of that shotgun hitting the wood still echoes in my head. They arrested him right there. I watched through the window as they put him in handcuffs and led him to the police car. For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel afraid. I felt free. But being free didn't mean everything was okay. After the police left, I sat on Miss Clara's couch, staring at the blank TV screen. My knees were still bleeding. My hands were shaking. She sat beside me, rubbing my back softly. "You're so brave, honey," she said. "You've been through more than most grown folks." I didn't feel brave. I felt broken. And I still missed Mama. That night, I slept in Miss Clara's guest room. The sheets smelled like flowers. The pillows were soft. But I had nightmares. In one dream, Granddaddy came back with fire in his hands. In another, Mama was calling me from a field, but I couldn't reach her. I woke up crying. Miss Clara came in and held me till I fell asleep again. The next morning, the sheriff came back to ask me questions. He brought a lady with short blonde hair and glasses. She had a kind face and introduced herself as Miss Diane from Child Services. She knelt down and said, "Betty, we're gonna make sure you're never hurt again. We promise." I looked at Miss Clara and she nodded. That day I told them everything. From the moment Mama died to the nights Granddaddy would drink and hurt me. I cried. I shook. I whispered some parts because they were too hard to say out loud. When I finished, Miss Diane wiped her eyes and said, "You're safe now, sweetheart. No one will ever lay a hand on you again." But I still felt scared. What if he got out of jail? What if he came looking for me? Miss Diane told me he wouldn't. They were going to make sure of it. Miss Clara said I could stay with her while they figured things out. And for the next few weeks I did. I helped her water the garden. We baked cookies. She taught me how to knit a scarf, even though mine looked more like a crooked snake. I even started smiling again. Sometimes. But deep inside I still had a storm. And one day the clouds came back. We were in town picking up groceries when I saw him. Granddaddy. He was on the other side of the street sitting on a bench. He looked smaller, thinner, like the wind could blow him away. But he saw me. And he smiled. A cold, awful smile. My heart stopped. Miss Clara grabbed my hand. "Let's go, baby," she said. We rushed back to the car, but I couldn't stop shaking. That night, I told Miss Clara I didn't want to go to school anymore. I was afraid he'd find me. She tried to calm me down, but the fear was back, and stronger than ever. Later, while she was washing dishes, I heard her talking on the phone in the kitchen. "She can't live like this. He's out on bail. It's not safe." Out on bail. That meant he wasn't in jail anymore. And if he wasn't in jail, what would stop him from coming back? I knew then that I couldn't stay there forever. Miss Clara was strong, but she was just one woman. I needed something more. I needed to make a decision. A big one. A life-changing one. That night, I crept out of bed and went into the guest room closet. I pulled out the little suitcase Mama had left behind. Inside it were some old clothes and a small Bible with Mama's name on it. I clutched that Bible to my chest and whispered, asterisk, "Help me, Mama. What do I do?" Asterisk. Then I knew. I had to run. Far. Somewhere he'd never find me. I packed my clothes, a slice of bread, a bottle of water, and Mama's picture. I wrote a note for Miss Clara. "I love you and I'm thankful. But I can't stay here. He's out. And I'm scared. I'm going somewhere he can never hurt me again. Love, Betty." I slipped out the window just before sunrise and started walking. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I had to go. I had to disappear. My little legs walked for hours, and the morning sun rose slowly behind me. I didn't even know where the road would lead. I just kept walking through thick grass past tall pine trees, and down a long stretch of dirt path that felt like it would never end. I was hungry. I was scared. But more than anything, I was determined. I had Mama's Bible clutched tight to my chest, and her voice echoed in my mind. Asterisk. Don't ever let fear win, Betty. You are stronger than it. Asterisk. That's what kept me going. A truck passed me once real slow. A man leaned his head out the window and asked, "You all right, little girl?" Elite. "Yes, sir. I'm just walking to my auntie's house. It's not far." He nodded and drove off. I didn't have no auntie, but I couldn't risk going back. Around noon, the sun was high and hot, and my bottle of water was nearly empty. My shoes were too small and my feet were blistering. I saw a small gas station in the distance. It looked quiet. I snuck around to the side and sat behind the dumpster, hoping nobody would see me. I pulled out my slice of bread and chewed it slowly, trying to make it last. Just then a voice startled me. "Hey there, are you hiding?" I jumped. A boy about my age, maybe 10 or 11, stood in front of me. He had freckles, messy red hair, and a lollipop in his mouth. "What's your name?" he asked. I didn't answer at first. "Mine's Tommy, asterisk asterisk," he said, sitting beside me like we were old friends. "You running away too?" That made me look at him. "You too?" I whispered. He nodded. "Yeah. My daddy's a drunk. Broke Mama's nose last week." I packed up my comic books and left. We sat in silence for a while. Two little strangers with the same big pain. He shared his second lollipop with me, and I gave him half of my bread. We didn't talk much, but it was nice not to be alone. That night, we slept behind the gas station under a big piece of cardboard. I kept my arms wrapped around my suitcase like it was treasure. The stars above us blinked like Mama was watching. But in the middle of the night, I heard a sound. A truck engine. Real slow. Real close. I peeked from under the cardboard. The headlights lit up the dirt like it was noon. I recognized that truck. It was Granddaddy's. "How did he find me?" Tommy whispered. "Who is that?" "Shua." Asterisk asterisk, I said, heart racing. I ducked down and held my breath. The truck stopped. The door opened. Boots hit the ground. I wanted to scream but held it in. Tommy looked at me with wide eyes and I knew we both were thinking the same thing. Asterisk asterisk run asterisk asterisk. I grabbed my suitcase and grabbed his hand. Come on, I whispered. We snuck around the back and took off running behind the trees. Branches slapped my face, thorns scratched my arms, but I didn't stop. I didn't look back. We ran until our legs gave out. Finally, we collapsed in the woods, gasping. Was that your dad? Asterisk Tommy asked. My granddaddy, asterisk I said, shaking. He's the monster I told you about. Tommy didn't say anything, but he scooted closer and put his arm around me. We slept under a tree that night, with the sound of owls in the trees and the rustle of the wind. The next morning we found a small town nearby. It had a diner, a bus stop, and a laundromat. We sat outside the diner hoping someone kind would help us. That's when a lady named Miss Brenda saw us. She was old like Miss Clara, with gray curly hair and a sparkly scarf. She worked at the diner and gave us biscuits and orange juice. Where y'all from? She asked. Tommy was about to lie, but I stopped him. I was tired of lying. I ran away from a bad man. Asterisk asterisk I said. He hurt me real bad. Miss Brenda's face got serious. She put her hand on mine. Nobody should ever hurt a child, she said. She called the sheriff. This time a different one. Not the one from my old town. Sheriff Johnson had kind eyes and spoke softly. He and Miss Brenda took us to the station and listened while we told them everything. He didn't question me. He believed me. Tommy too. We'll make sure no one finds you for a while, asterisk he said. And if he comes near you again, we'll handle him. I wanted to believe him. I really did. We stayed in a foster home for a while. Miss April, the foster mom, was gentle and sweet. She had 2 other kids and made the best mac and cheese I ever tasted. But I never truly rested. Not with Granddaddy still out there. Until one day the sheriff came back. He had a letter in his hand. Betty, he said asterisk. We just got news. Your grandfather tried to cross state lines and was picked up. He's going back to jail. This time for longer. I blinked. He's gone. For now. And we're working on making sure it's forever. Asterisk. I nodded slowly, my eyes filling with tears. Tommy grinned and said, asterisk, told you he wouldn't get us. Asterisk. But just because he was caught didn't mean the fear left. That night I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Mama's Bible rested on my chest. I whispered asterisk, Mama, he's gone. But I'm still scared. What if he comes back again? What if I'm never safe? Asterisk. Then like a tiny voice from heaven, I heard her words again. Don't ever let fear win, Betty. You are stronger than it. Asterisk. And for the first time, I believed it. That's when I made the real life-changing choice. Not just to run. Not just to hide. But to fight back. To speak. To tell my story. So no other little girl would ever feel as scared as I did. The next day, I told the sheriff I wanted to testify in court. I wanted to look Granddaddy in the eye. And say the truth. No more silence. No more hiding. The world needed to hear what he did. And I was ready. But before I could do that, something else happened. Something I never expected. Miss Clara showed up at the foster home. Tears in her eyes. Baby, asterisk asterisk she said. Wrapping me in her arms asterisk. I've been looking everywhere. When I found your note, I thought I lost you forever. Asterisk. I held her tight and cried like a river. I didn't want him to hurt you. Asterisk asterisk I sobbed. He was out. I was so scared. You never have to protect me, sweetheart. Asterisk asterisk she said, kissing my head. That's my job. And I'm not going anywhere. But she wasn't the only one who came back. Sheriff Johnson got a call from someone I didn't know. A woman from Mama's side of the family. A woman with a secret. And what she told us would change everything. After Miss Clara's warm hug and the shocking visit from the woman who said she was from Mama's side of the family, I felt like I was standing at the edge of a new storm. My heart raced, wondering what secret could be so big that it would change everything we thought we knew. The woman's name was Aunt Linda. She was tall and wore glasses that made her eyes look huge. She spoke softly but with a seriousness that made me listen carefully. She said Mama had a sister I never knew about. My real aunt. Aunt Linda explained that Mama had kept many things hidden, trying to protect me from family troubles that stretched back many years. I felt like my whole world was a puzzle with missing pieces. Why did Mama hide this from me? What else was I not told? That day, Aunt Linda brought old photographs and letters. Pictures of Mama as a little girl, laughing and playing with a little girl who looked like me. But the letters told a different story, of family fights, betrayals, and promises broken. I realized that my troubles with Granddaddy were not just mine. They were part of something much bigger. I wanted to ask Aunt Linda everything, but she said we had to be careful. Some people in the family didn't want the truth to come out. They feared what would happen if secrets were exposed. For the first time since Mama died, I felt the weight of loneliness lift a little. Aunt Linda told me stories about Mama's childhood. How she was brave but sometimes scared, just like me. She said Mama loved me so much and wanted a better life for me. That night, as I lay in the foster home bed, I thought about Mama's love and my own courage. I was no longer just a scared little girl running from pain. I was a fighter with a story to tell. The next morning, Sheriff Johnson called me to the station. He told me the court date for Granddaddy's trial was set. He wanted me to be prepared to speak my truth, no matter how hard it was. I felt nervous but also ready. I knew that telling my story could help others who were suffering in silence. But just days before the trial, something terrifying happened. One evening as I was walking home from the store with Aunt Linda, I saw a shadow move quickly behind us. A car slowed down next to us and a man stepped out. I froze. It was someone I recognized, one of Granddaddy's old friends. His eyes were cold and his smile was mean. "Betty, he said lowly. "You better watch your step. Some stories are better left untold." Aunt Linda grabbed my hand tightly and we hurried away. That night I couldn't sleep. Fear wrapped around me like a heavy blanket. But I remembered Mama's words again. Don't ever let fear win, Betty. You are stronger than it. I whispered to myself, I won't be scared. I have to be strong. For Mama. For me. The day of the trial came. I walked into the courtroom with Aunt Linda, Miss Clara, Sheriff Johnson, and even Tommy by my side. My heart pounded as I took the stand. Granddaddy sat at the other side, his face hard and cold. When it was my turn to speak, I looked at everyone in the room and told the truth. I told them about the pain, the fear, the nights I cried. I told them about the day he hurt me until I bled. I told them about running away and finding help. I told them about the courage Mama gave me, even from heaven. The room was silent. Some people wiped tears from their eyes. The judge listened carefully. I finished and stepped down, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. But the story was not over. That night when I got home, I found a letter slipped under the door. It was from Granddaddy. "You may have won this round, but the fight isn't over. It said. I felt a cold chill, but I also felt fire inside me. I wasn't alone. I had love. I had truth. I had hope. And I had made a life-changing choice to stand up and fight. I wanted to ask you, dear listener, what would you do if you were me? Would you hide in fear? Or would you find the strength to tell your story? Remember, speaking up can change everything. I hope you are learning from my journey. Please, if you are watching, like and subscribe to Grandma's Tales. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? Your story matters too. After receiving that threatening letter from Granddaddy, the air around me felt heavier than ever. But instead of breaking me, it lit a fire inside my heart. I knew he wanted me to be scared, to stay silent, but I refused to give him that power again. The days leading to the final court hearing were filled with tension. I stayed close to Aunt Linda, Miss Clara, and Sheriff Johnson. Tommy came over every day, bringing laughter and comfort when the fear tried to creep back in. We shared stories, played games, and sometimes just sat quietly. Tommy was no longer just a friend, he was family. One afternoon, as I sat by the window writing in my journal, Aunt Linda sat beside me. She told me stories about Mama's strength and how she fought for her own happiness. "Your Mama believed in you, Betty," she said softly. "She wanted you to live free without fear." Those words gave me courage. I understood then that my fight wasn't just about me. It was for every child who had been hurt and left feeling helpless. The courtroom was filled with people the day of the hearing. Some faces were kind and supportive. Others were cold and hard like Granddaddy's. When my turn came, I stood tall and spoke clearly about everything: how he had hurt me, how I had run away, and how I chose to be brave. The judge listened carefully, and the evidence was strong. Granddaddy's own past of violence and threats was brought up. When the verdict came, it was a mix of relief and sadness. Granddaddy was sentenced to many years in prison. I felt a heavy weight lift from my shoulders. Justice had been served, but healing was still a journey I had to walk. After the trial, Aunt Linda helped me and Miss Clara move into a cozy little house. It was small but filled with love. I decorated my room with pictures of Mama and the new family I was building. Tommy came over often, and we planned a garden full of sunflowers, the kind Mama loved. But even in this new chapter, life wasn't always easy. One night, as I was getting ready for bed, I heard a noise outside. Shadows moved near the window and my heart skipped a beat. Fear tried to take hold again, but I remembered Mama's words and my own promise to be strong. I called Miss Clara and we checked together. It was only a stray cat looking for food. I laughed softly, realizing how far I had come, from hiding in fear to standing up with courage. The months passed, and with each day I grew stronger. I went back to school, made new friends, and even started speaking at local groups about my story, hoping to help others find their voice. One sunny afternoon, as I was planting sunflowers in our garden, a letter arrived. It was from a woman named Mrs. Taylor, who ran a shelter for children like me. She invited me to share my story at their annual gathering. I felt nervous but excited. This was the life-changing choice I had made, to turn my pain into power. The day of the gathering, I stood in front of a room full of children and adults. I told them about Mama, about Granddaddy, and about running away. But more than that, I told them about hope, courage, and the strength to choose love over fear. Tears and smiles filled the room. Afterwards, a little girl came up to me and whispered, "Thank you. You make me feel brave." That moment was worth all the pain I had endured. But as I smiled, I couldn't help but wonder, was this truly the end of my troubles? Because sometimes life has a way of testing our strength when we least expect it. One evening, a knock came at the door. Miss Clara opened it to find a man in a dark coat. He handed her a sealed envelope. Inside was a photo, one I never wanted to see again. Granddaddy, but this time, with a new face beside him. Someone from the shadows, watching and waiting. The fight wasn't over yet. But now I was ready. The photo in the envelope shook me to my core. Granddaddy wasn't alone anymore. A new face stood beside him. A man I didn't recognize, but whose cold eyes seemed to promise trouble. My heart pounded as I stared at the picture. The weight of what it meant crashing over me like a storm. Miss Clara held my hand tightly. "Betty, whatever this is, we will face it together," she said softly. But deep down, I knew this was the beginning of something I could never have prepared for. The fight wasn't just about Granddaddy anymore. It was about secrets, shadows, and a truth hidden for too long. The next morning, I met with Aunt Linda and Sheriff Johnson. We looked over the photo carefully. Sheriff said the man beside Granddaddy was a known troublemaker, someone with a long history of violence and deception. He warned me to be extra careful and said the police would keep watch. Days turned into weeks. I tried to live my life, going to school and helping others, but fear lingered like a dark cloud. Every unexpected knock at the door, every shadow moving outside made me jump. One night, while I was sitting alone in my room, the power went out. Darkness swallowed the house and silence fell. My breath quickened and I hugged my knees tight. Suddenly, there was a soft tap on the window. I froze. A pale face appeared, someone I recognized. It was Tommy. He smiled and whispered, "I'm here." Relief washed over me. Tommy stayed until the lights came back on. That night, I realized how much I needed my friends' and family's love to survive. But the shadows outside were growing stronger. One afternoon, Aunt Linda received a phone call. Her face went pale as she listened. "Betty," she said, "we need to be careful. That man from the photo, he's been asking questions about you." Fear gripped me, but I pushed it down. I couldn't run anymore. I began to dig into the past, asking Aunt Linda to help me uncover the truth about the man in the photo and his connection to Granddaddy. We discovered something shocking. Granddaddy had been involved in a secret family feud, one that stretched back decades. The man beside him in the photo was a cousin who wanted to take control of the family's hidden wealth and power. Mama had tried to protect me from this dark history. She hid letters and kept secrets because she feared what would happen if the truth came out. Now the truth was here, knocking at my door. Determined to end the cycle of fear and pain, I decided to confront the man directly. With Aunt Linda and Sheriff Johnson by my side, I arranged a meeting in a public place. The man arrived, his eyes cold but curious. I looked him in the eye and said, "I know about your plan to control the family, but I'm not afraid. I'm here to stop you." He sneered and said, "You're just a scared little girl." I took a deep breath and answered, "I'm not scared anymore. I'm a survivor." The meeting was tense, but I stood my ground. Sheriff and Aunt Linda made it clear that any threats or violence would be met with justice. After that day, the man backed away, and the shadows slowly lifted. The fight had been long and hard, but I had chosen courage over fear. I rebuilt my life, surrounded by people who loved me. I went to college, helped others who had suffered abuse, and even started a support group for children with difficult pasts. Through it all, I carried Mama's love in my heart, and the lessons I learned about strength, hope, and the power of speaking the truth. If there is one thing I want you to remember, dear listener, it's this. No matter how dark the night, the morning always comes. No matter how deep the pain, healing is possible. And no matter how loud the fear, your voice matters. Please, if you found strength in my story, like and subscribe to Grandma's Tales. Share your thoughts and stories in the comments. Where are you watching from? Together, we can be brave. Thank you for listening to my journey. May your path be filled with light and love.